Hello guys, I'm Raj and I'm back with a new video. So in this video I will talk about something about functions in Python. So basically what is a function? It's the first thing that we come across in our mind. So function is nothing but, let's say, you are writing a code and you are performing an operation for multiple times during your entire code run. So let's say I have prepared this short example. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are nothing but your code blocks. So let's say these are the small sections of your code, and these green sections are nothing but your code, which is the operation which is performing repeatedly, or that is very frequent in terms of the operation in terms of coding. So and these are like the green function, the green patches are the same operations, but we have to perform it at different stages of the code. So it turns out that we have around 7 sections of code, and which is like the code section 2, 4 and 6 are redundant, right? So in order to make this code much better and much shorten in length, we can use function. So function is nothing but a set of code, or a block of code which performs a task which can be used anywhere in the code. And by just calling it, so we have to write it only once, and we can use it anywhere, anytime. So which essentially reduces your code to something like this. So earlier it was like we had 7 blocks of code which includes your functions or your operations as well. So now that I have defined a function for that operation, I can reduce my code to just 4 blocks and a function block. So typically I have reduced my code size to just 5 blocks. And so whenever you are performing the first code block, then you will call the function, then you will return back to the main program and you will execute third, and similarly we'll go on till the 7 and it will complete the execution. So by just using coding these functions, it's not just you are reducing the amount of code that you are writing, but it also, like, the use of functions also helps your program to get some modularity. So when I say modularity, it means that it helps us arrange our code in a good way so that it can be easy for others to read. It often happens that we work in a distributor or in a team environment where we are performing certain tasks, and we want others to perform some tasks based on what our code is. So let's say I write some code and I pass on to my colleague and tell him or her to add something on that. So but it will be very difficult if he or she is finding difficult to read what I just sent him. So if I had modules specified, and each module has a specific work to do, and it can be called anytime, then it will be very easy to for him or her to trace your code and effectively understand what is happening in that. So basically we will have 2 types of function in Python. So first is your built-in and second is user-defined. So the built-in functions are nothing but that Python provides default, let's say, or integer function, your float functions, which are typecasting functions. I'm taking very basic example so that everyone can understand it easily. Let's say the max function for getting the maximum element out of a sequence type object, or even the length function that can define or that can return what is the length of that object. So these are some examples of the built-in functions. And today will be talking about something known as user-defined functions. So user-defined functions are nothing but what I just mentioned. So just mentioned a couple of slides ago. So we want to perform some task, and we will define our functions on our own. That is known as user-defined functions. So today we'll see how to write a user-defined function and how to manipulate your values and perform your task easily. So let's just jump on to the code. So the functions are defined by using this keyword def. So def basically will indicate or Python interpreter that it is going to be a start a new function. So then you will have the function name. So again, the function name follows the naming parameter or naming conventions of the variable. So whatever the naming conventions that we were following for naming a variable, that will be applied here as well. So you cannot use uh, other than underscore as the special characters like percentage that cannot be used for naming a function. So you can either use any of the alphabets and numbers, but it should start with an alphabet, and it can have underscore as one of the special characters possible. And then we will have this parenthesis which indicates that it is a function, and then we'll have some optional parameters. So parameters are optional, so it's not compulsory you have to pass parameter to the function. It is an optional. Then we'll end that line with a colon, so which typically indicates that this is your main declaration of the function. So whatever the line of code that after this line will be some of the lines of code for the function. So then we'll have then we will write some line of codes for that for the operation that we want to perform in the function. So which will be there is one interesting thing to note for the beginners of Python, that it's the whatever the operation that we are performing in that function should be in at a one tab space then the def line. So here my definition def keyword is written at the beginning of the line. So I have to write whatever the operations that we are performing in the function with a single tab space. So that's where you can see I have written this dash and lines of code as at one tab space. So after writing whatever operations that we want to write for the function, then we will write something known as return, and we will return some values. So again, like parameters, this return line is also optional. So whatever so like it is like there are functions are very purposely built for some tasks. So there might be a function where you won't have to return something, and there might be a function that we have to return multiple things. So so this return keyword over here, it is not just returning a value, but it is also indicating that it is the end of the function code. So whenever the interpreter is executing your code, and whenever it encounters this return keyword, it will believe that this is the last line of the function, and we won't execute whatever the code that is written below that line. So it essentially indicates this is the end of the function, and we can pass, or we can return some of the values that we want in the main program by specifying whatever the keywords, or directly you can specify the values here as well. So again, this returning values is a optional part. It can be, it might happen, that it might not happen based on the goal that the programmer wants to achieve. So I will show you a small example for this. So I write, this is a small function for producing the addition of two numbers. So I will write def, and then I will write a good function name, so which is calculate underscore sum. Then the parentheses I will pass two parameters a and b, and I will end it with colon, and I will take a variable c which stores the summation of a and b, and then I will print whatever the sum that I got. So now that I have defined this function, I can call this function by using directly the name. But there is, like, in terms of indentation, you have to be careful that your function code was at one tab space away from the original or the starting of a line. So we have to call that function like at the 0th position of the line, in order to we don't because here I am not using a return keyword. So essentially it should be like that I am calling it from the main function. So now I can pass two values, that is 5 and 2. Let's say I take 5 and 2. So, and I can run, if I run this, I will get 7. So essentially what we'll do is, it will first it will execute, interpreter will get this function, so it will memorize it in its memory, that there is a function named calculate sum which takes two parameter, and whatever the operations that is doing it. And then as soon as we encounter this line, so it will check if this calculate underscore sum keyword or this variable exists or not. So yes, it is existing. So it will pass two parameters 5 and 2. So essentially we'll go at the first line of the function, then we will execute this c equals to a plus b, and then we will print this line, and then we will again go back to the main program. That's what it is essentially doing. So instead of just printing whatever the sum was, I can return that as well. So I will use this return keyword, and I will pass the value c. So now if I no so whatever what will this return will do is, so wherever I'm calling this function, so this function after the execution, I will get the whatever the value that is returned over. So if I print this value, so I will get sum of ab equals to 7, so which is nothing but your function code. So and as soon as I return that value, I'm printing it here also. So essentially whatever the operation that was performed in the function, I am getting it back into the main program. So that's the goal of using a function. So as we see in this example, we are returning only a single value, and that's the case for many programming languages, that we can only pass a single object from a function. But Python provides us of passing or returning multiple values from a function. So that's something that unique that I learned in Python when I was studying. So like in comparison with a single value, I can pass multiple values. So here I can pass a, b, and c. So I will perform this addition operation, and I can pass all the three items that all the three variables or the three values from the function. So I will pass, sorry, I will return a comma b comma c. This is the way to return multiple values from function. So essentially what these values will be, so it will be returned in a tuple form. So this a comma b comma c notation is nothing but your tuple notation. So it will return a tuple value. So I can check that as even as check that as well. So this, let's forget this line for now. So next, so yes, so when if I pass 5 and 2, then it will calculate its sum, what that is 7, then it will return a comma b comma c. So this notation is nothing but a tuple notation. So that's how it is done. So that's how we can get multiple values. And if you want to access any one of the value, then I can use your basic index notation for tuple or list, whatever suits you. So or whatever makes you understand easily. So if I write square bracket 0, so it will return it will print 5, which is nothing but your first element in the return tuple. So that's how it is done. So based on as I told you that the parameters and the return keywords are your optional. So basically you can have these 4 permutations. So there are other permutations, like you can specify a function for different ways, but I categorize it into this 4 main categories. So no parameters, no return values. So you don't have any parameters and you don't return a value. So it essentially doing just a printing stuff. So you can have no parameters, but you can return some value. So it will return a constant. For this kind of functions can be used to return a constant that we can define like a value of pi. So we always want to take a value of pi as constant. Then we'll have some parameters with no return values. So this was the basic example that I told you before. So if I remove this return statement and I do something like this, so it is nothing but I'm passing the parameter, but I'm not returning something. I'm just printing whatever the operation was done. Then at last we'll have the parameters and return values as well. So this was nothing but your this function. So I'm passing 2 parameters or a single parameter, anything, and I'm returning whatever the operation was done. So here there is one more thing to notice. So I told you about comments. So comments are very essential part of programming. So let's say I have I write a comment over here, which can be multi-line or single line, whatever you want. So I'm writing something that this function is performing addition. So what so no this line of this comment line is nothing but for the programmer to understand what this function or what this code is doing. So and I do the usual operations in it. So right, so like this is the basic syntax of a function. And if I want to know what is the comment for this calculate function, then I can write whatever the function name is, calculate underscore sum. And if I write double under dot notation, and after dot I can, if I write underscore underscore doc and underscore underscore, so I have two underscores at the preceding of doc and at the succession of the doc. And if I print this, it will return whatever the comment that was stored in the calculate function. So this can be quite useful when you don't know what the function is doing, and you have a the original programmer has done some hard work to write some comment section about it, and you want to view that in your console. Then you can use this underscore underscore doc underscore underscore notation or parameter to view that comment. So moving on to the last topic of this video, and I think the most important topic for functions, or whenever you are dealing with functions. So this is nothing but variable scope. So the scope is nothing but scope of a variable is nothing but the area or the section of code in which the variable can be accessed and used. So so whenever you are creating a function and you are declaring a function in the declaring a variable in that function, then the scope of that variable is only limited to the function. So your main program and your function has a different uh, variable space. So I can show you with an example. So let's say I have this variable a equals to 5, and I have a function which is in which b is equals to 8. So here this b is equals to 8 is only accessible, or the scope of the variable b is only till this function. So I cannot access this b beyond this function, and similarly I cannot access this a in this square function. So the variable space for both the main program, so this a is equals to 5 square and print b are in your in your main program, and this print a and b is equals to 8 is in your the square program square functions variable space. So you cannot access the variables in other variable space directly. So there are some mechanisms. So let's say I am trying to access the value of a in the square function, and I am trying to access the b in the main functions, and let's see what happens if we try to do this. So we will get an error like what is b and b is not defined. So this is happening because the variable b is limited to this square, and it cannot be accessed directly. So essentially what variable scoping means is, let's say I have a variable a equals to 5 in the main program, and in the square function I have a equals to 8. And if I print this what the value of a, and so what I will get is a is equals to 8. So why this is happening? Because there are two instances of a whenever you are running this Python program. So first a will be in the main program, which is equals to 5, and second a is in the square function, which is equals to 8. So whenever this kind of scenario happens in Python, so it will always take the local variable, or it will give the more priority to the local variable. So here a is equals to 8 is your local variable, so it will print whatever the value of a which is in the local variable scope. It will print that value. So that's the scenario whenever you are using a single variable with the same name and with different values in different sections of the program. But let's say I want to use the value of a from the main program into this square function, then I can use this global function for that. So here I will take the same example. So I have a equals to 5 in the main and a is equals to 8 in the square, and I want to get the value of a from the main program. Then I can use this globals keyword. So I will write globals, globals function. So, and this function will essentially return a dictionary, which will which is I think which is a name value mappings for the whole program. So it will contain all the parameters of the program that is being run using that parameter. So that parameters are stored, and even the variables are stored. So for to access a variable from that dictionary, I will write a square brackets, and then in that square bracket I will write the variable name in string quotes. So I will write a for this example, and if I print this, I will get the value of 5. So essentially I'm using the global variable a's value in in the square function. So that's how it is done. So thank you for watching, thank you for your time. Take care of your health. We'll meet next time. If you haven't subscribed this channel, please subscribe it. uh, Keep liking, keep sharing, keep commenting on this video in this channel. Till then, this is Raj signing out.